adding more regulations that house builders and landlords have to comply with, which is more red tape, more bureaucracy, more things that they have to put up with, and it's already hard enough to get anything done. It's already too expensive to get anything done.
So I just don't agree with you, actually. So the thing for me is that our tenants, we are responsible to them in terms of the health and safety of their homes, and we have to ensure that we are managing our homes and our estates in the best possible way.
But what the Good Landlord Plan is saying also is that we're going to look at reducing bureaucracy, so getting more bang for buck, and I think that's also really important.
You know, I don't know any local authority landlord that doesn't want to be a good landlord. But what a good landlord was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago is not what a good landlord is today.
Hello, I'm Toby Fox from 1.5 million new homes, the local government challenge. Sponsored by Redloft and by Bouygues and by Mount Anvil and Waits Residential and HTA Design. And every month I'm visiting a different council to find out what works and what has to change to get more homes built. And this month I've come to the London Borough of Southwark. And I'm going to meet the leader of the council, Cllr Sarah King. I'm going to ask her about the Good Landlord Plan and bust some myths about it. So, tell me about the Good Landlord Plan.
Okay, so the Good Landlord Plan, it's a response to a number of really, really important things. So I was Cabinet Member for Council Homes previously, and when I was Cabinet Member, the Regulator of Social Housing came in to inspect our services. So it was a new regulatory regime for council landlords, which had existed for housing associations before. It was a really detailed investigation, happens every 4 years going forward. And actually, the really disappointing thing is that they found that we actually had some real serious failings as a council landlord. Now, I think we were very well prepared for that because we were prepared partly because of the work we'd done in advance, but also because of the voices and the views that were being shared by our tenants and to some extent our leaseholders about the services that we provide as a landlord. So the Good Landlord Plan is our very big organisational response to that report and to the views of our tenants. And it's about making sure that we provide brilliant services to our residents as a landlord. So that looks at things like our repairs of existing homes. It looks at how we invest in our homes in terms of health and safety. It looks at communal spaces. Across our council estates, we have just under 200 playgrounds. So it looks at how the quality of those playgrounds, the landscaping, the biodiversity. So it's all encompassing, but its priority in its first phases is looking at health and safety, and that's why we're investing £250 million in our existing council estates and homes.
So I'm going to challenge you,
Okay,
Sarah, on the Good Landlord Plan.
Yeah, go for it.
I put myself in a developer's mind and I say, hang on a minute, this is just more red tape. You're going to end up adding more regulations that house builders and landlords have to comply with, which is more red tape, more bureaucracy, more things that they have to put up with, and it's already hard enough to get anything done. It's already too expensive to get anything done.
So I just don't agree with you, actually. So the thing for me is that our tenants, we are responsible to them in terms of the health and safety of their homes, and we have to ensure that we are managing our homes and our estates in the best possible way. So the Good Landlord Plan, if anything, it's a challenge to us as a council rather than to anyone else, but it does challenge people who also work with us to do that. But it's about putting the tenant centre stage, and it's about making sure that they are safe, they are secure, that we are responsive and that they are listened to.
But all this stuff is going to cost money, isn't it? It's extra time, it's extra effort, and everything's already too expensive. So who's going to pay for that?
So the housing revenue account is ring-fenced, so it is paid for out of our own finances, and that is from our tenants' rents and from our service charges from our leaseholders. So it's their money which we're investing in them, and I think that's the main principle of it. It is financed by them, and we must use that money wisely to make sure they live better lives.
So when does it start?
So it's already underway. We launched it at a cabinet meeting a couple of months ago, and it's first of all looking at health and safety, but it's also looking at how we talk to our residents, how we communicate with them, how we get their feedback. So we have recently started to set up some new boards which will bring together leaseholders and tenants to be there to challenge us and to make sure they're holding us to account on the progress that we need to make.
Cllr Sarah King, thank you very much indeed for your role in getting 1.5 million new homes built.
Thank you very much.
So, Danny, we've been hearing a bit about the Good Landlord Plan. Isn't there a sense in which this is the basics? This is what all councils should be doing anyway?
I think it is, but what's really important is that it's there in black and white. So I think there has been a disconnect between the standards, the regulator, and what needs to be achieved. Also, all councils, not just Southwark, are really under the pump when it comes to the amount of money they've come, catch-up work, and meeting all new regulations. So it's great to see that there's a real commitment there from members and officers. There's also a commitment to increase training and have a greater say from residents. So I think that's really important. And what they're also doing is reconfirming that they've built or building 3,000 homes, which is absolutely fantastic, but also that they want to build more. And we're seeing here kind of the outputs that they're getting, which are, lovely new homes. And I think we need to be building more and more. We know what the crisis is in TA, and there's only really one way to address that, and that's build more social rented homes, get families out of bed and breakfast, cut that massive bill and turn that revenue cost into a capital cost. And Southwark are saying they're going to do that.
But what do you say to detractors of something like the Good Landlord Plan, who would say this is just more red tape, more administration, more kind of delay and bureaucracy in the system?
I don't think it is that, because what they're saying is here's a commitment to how we're going to do things better. And actually, within the Good Landlord Plan, they're talking about cutting bureaucracy. So they're saying these are the ways that we will reduce waste, and this is how we will deliver a better service. So they're setting out clearly what that better service looks like and how they're going to achieve that. So I think it's the opposite of that.
And presumably the service needs improving because costs have gone up and it's harder and harder to finance good services. So who's going to pay for this improvement?
Well, that's absolutely true. And I think there's lots of threads to that. But since 2012, when the HRA account became self-funding, we've seen massive changes. So when they first did that, there was enough headroom to deliver all that was required of every local authority.
And when we say headroom, that's kind of a technical term, isn't it?
Sorry, so there was enough extra money.
Yeah.
So the rents plus what they could borrow, there was enough money there for top up to deliver what they needed to do. Yeah. And what we've seen over that period since 2012 is massive inflation in maintenance and building costs. We've seen increases in the cost of borrowing, and those costs weren't fixed within the HRO originally. So those costs have gone up exponentially as well and really haven't been budgeted for. We had the Liz Truss fiscal event, which ruined lots and lots of business plans in the public and the private sector. I mean, we've seen this weekend in the FT the amount of development and actual building of new homes absolutely crashed, and set out the reasons why.
This is the Financial Times article that said that London had basically stopped building houses.
Yes, and we all know that, but it's good to have that affirmed by such an esteemed paper. And councils are facing those same pressures that the public sector are facing. So, and that headroom, as we said, that additionality that they had has gone. Interest rates and increased costs have lost that. So there maybe need to be some HRA reform as well. So I think lots of local authorities are looking at trying to release the borrowing cap so they can borrow more, and looking at different ways of increasing the pie within the HRA. But what the Good Landlord Plan is saying also is that we're going to look at reducing bureaucracy, so getting more bang for buck, and I think that's also really important.
And what does that mean for other councils? Is that a plan that other councils should be looking at? Are other councils doing similar in your experience?
Lots of other councils are looking at the same thing. They're calling it different things, but lots of councils are looking at how they can deliver their services better, what issues they're facing. So councils, for the first time, I'm seeing, are looking at stock rationalisation, which is actually selling some of their homes, which councils have never done before. They've always seen it selling the family silver. But they're having to look at that now because we're needing to get to a higher EPC rating, EPCC, and some council committed to getting to B, so homes are easier and cheaper to heat. Yeah. And that's really difficult on some stock. If you've got old Victorian stock or Edwardian stock, it's really, really difficult to get to that. Though it is, really nice homes, but they're difficult to heat. And so some local authorities are looking at selling those, getting those into the private sector, use that money, and then doing up the stock that they've got. And they're looking at different ways of how they can deliver their planned maintenance as well. So and using different technologies to get into homes to have a better understanding. And what they've all done now is done 100% or are in the process of doing 100% surveys on all their properties, so they've got a really good understanding. So there's a lot less guesswork about what properties need work and where they need work, and so they can plan that so much better. And what that should do is free up capital to build new homes, and that's what we need to be doing.
Danny Sutcliffe, thank you very much for your role
Thank
in
you, Toby.
1.5 million new homes.
Thank you, Toby.
Hakeem, tell me about the Good Landlord Plan. Aren't councils supposed to be at that level already? Isn't it just doing what councils are supposed to do?
Yes, I mean, you could say that. I don't know any local authority landlord that doesn't want to be a good landlord. But what a good landlord was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago is not what a good landlord is today. Things have changed. Not in the least, the fact that our residents are more demanding. They're used to, Amazon and fast delivery of everything. Which by rights they should have. So there is that, but there is also lots of new regulations. So for example, local authorities until 2 years ago, we didn't have a regulator for social housing, and now we do, and they have they've made demands of us. And we have to pay subscription for them to exist. We also have the Building Safety Regulator, which is good, but they bring new things that we then have to deliver. So, for example, the Building Safety Regulator are primarily concerned about high-rise buildings. Now, Southwark has 194 high-rise buildings. There is no local authority in the country that has anywhere near that. And therefore, all of those new regimes, all of those new regulatory requirements affect us more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So
We're talking about fire safety in the aftermath of Grenfell.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, for example, in any of those 194 buildings, if I want to change the windows because they're old and need changing, I have to ask permission from the Building Safety Regulator. They have to assess how that works, something that a local authority as a landlord would already know. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's not a terrible thing, but it adds months to delivering those things.
But doesn't the Good Landlord Plan just add more months?
No. The best thing, in my view, about the Good Landlord Plan is that we asked our residents their views about what would need to happen, what do we need to look like and do for them to consider us to be a good landlord.
Okay.
So our Good Landlord Plan is that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we believe that if we deliver all of those actions, our residents would give us thumbs up because we asked them. We didn't cook it up in a room and just or talk to the regulator and then and say that's it. If we do this thing, we'll be a good landlord. It's about what the residents want.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because we exist. I mean, I'm an observer, but you exist in a bubble in that you're talking to professionals, other people involved in the housing industry all the time, and you tend to be creating a kind of a profession that meets its own needs in a way, and you need to get outside of that bubble. What you're saying you're doing is getting outside that bubble and trying to address the needs of tenants rather than the needs of the professionals who are managing
Absolutely. I mean, as a local authority, not just housing, as a local authority, we're refocusing our attention on being led by residents. It's very, very important. You cannot deliver, anything you could describe as a good service if it doesn't meet the needs of the residents you're delivering it to. And you can't know if it meets their needs if they haven't told you.
Right.
And they won't tell you if you don't ask.
So you need the boards set up so that the tenants can have that regular interaction with you.
Yes.
So what do you expect to change as a result?
First, I think, the involvement, engagement, and influence of residents in everything we do. I think that which is already changing. We can already demonstrate, how they're influencing the things we do. So that will change. The culture of our own staff will change as well. The mindset, I'd say to my people, folks, we work for our residents, not the other way around. They put food on our table, and therefore we need to look after them as you would do if you were a Tesco looking after its customers, for example. But we need to bear in mind that in a lot of cases, they can't take their customer away.
Yep.
Yeah, and therefore we have to respect that and treat them, in the nicest possible way. So for me, our relationship with our residents is the primary change. That changes, and it changes positively. Everything will flow from that.
And that's it for another episode of 1.5 Million New Homes, the Local Government Challenge, sponsored by Redloft and by Bouygues and Mount Anville and Waits Residential and HTA Design. But we are going to be back in just a few days with more from the London Borough of Southwark. So subscribe and hit like, and you won't miss those episodes. We'll look forward to seeing you.